Oh, and you know what the weird part is too? Like in India, it's like women, like for the longest time, because I lived in India for 10 years. So like I can speak this from personal experience. So like I've been, I live in the parent life and everything. It's like women were never encouraged or like to go out and do what they want. Their main purpose, like what was back in the day, was like, okay, you got to provide for your kids and you take care of the family and that's it. There's no ambition past that.
Yeah.
So like, what do you see nowadays is a lot of the time where like those women that have been suppressed within, nowadays at these later stages, you see them having like a lot of, mental distress, whether it's, bipolar is one of the main common things within our brown communities that nobody talks about.
Yep.
It's crazy how many, elderly women that go through it, they never knew they had it, but now it comes out in bigger waves. Like my mom personally went through it. I seen it with my mom too, like where it brings you to tears, like seeing my mom like in a state where I didn't know what was happening, and I didn't have that mindset to care to that extent. Where when I was young, I'm like, it's just, my dad told me, so whatever, he's like, she's just going through it, whatever, she'll be good.
Yeah.
And
you'll be fine, don't worry about it.
Yeah, she was fine, like after a couple months, but guess what? The pattern will repeat.
Yep.
And it will just amplify more and more and more as years progress. And this was the first time I took my mom to the, psychiatrist for the first time ever.
Well, man, the fact that you did that's huge. A huge testament to you and your mom. Growth is difficult no matter the age. You could be in your teens, you could be in your 20s, you can be in your 50s, 60s.
Yeah.
Growth is tough because you got to break yourself a little bit, being like, okay, I'm going the wrong direction. You got to break that off and you got to bring that forward. And the fact that you went with your mom, that's like a huge thing.
Yeah. Because, there's so many taboo subjects too, because even Mo can speak from his personal side too, because like, the thing is like, he comes from a different side, like completely, like Mo will speak about it, like and this is a taboo subject we don't talk about enough.
Yeah.
What
are you talking about though?
Like from your family. Because like we come from,
so I'm out of jail.
Because like me and him, like we come from a different household. We're like, I'm a mama's boy. I'll admit it. I am, bro. I am. I'm a mama's boy.
That's a way different turn than I was expecting. I was like, damn, bro, cameras are rolling, right?
The thing is, like Mook has is like, cause like he has like he comes from a household where like his parents like they got divorced at a young age when they were young age. So his like perspective is way different. His trauma 100%. Is way different. Yep. So when sometimes we sit and talk, it's like, well, like I will never know like what your trauma is. I could never understand it. I can't, because it will change everything the way he looks at life.
Yeah, you don't walk in my shoes, right?
Yeah. I mean, we have this conversation all the time, and like my parents got divorced about like 15, 16 years ago. So my sister was about 12. I was 16.
Yeah.
Ooh, very
so
like
young,
pivotal years.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, I mean, you know how it is in brown families, man. It's all family drama and all that.
Yeah, 100%. Nonstop, bro.
That shit gets, once people hear about that shit spreads like wildfire.
Wait, that's the thing, right? Is that nobody wants to talk about the good stuff. But if something goes down, bam, everyone's CNN.
Yeah, man.
Bro, it's so true.
Yeah, but it's just like like my sister and my dad moved out.
Okay.
Right? So it's kind of the opposite of what it usually is.
Yeah.
Right? And, kind of not having that motherhood in the household, it's like, okay, my sister doesn't have somebody to look up to as a role model.
Yeah.
So she doesn't really have that understanding of what it is to become feminine.
Yeah.
Right? I don't have that. I don't know what a mother's love is like now.
Yeah.
So my father is in that confusion because, of course, like, well enough, like in brown household, they don't talk about emotions. They don't talk about that shit. They think it's just all fucking delusional or whatever it is.
It don't exist.
Yeah, 100%. So I've cried at my family. So trust me, I get it.
I think we all been there.
Yeah, 100%. Where I was like, I'm just over it. Y'all all are crying with me.
Yeah, normalized more.
Yeah, 100%. I get that, man.
Yes. Yeah. So it's like, then my father, he was confused. I was like, okay, how do I fill that spot of motherhood? But I also still got to play fatherhood as well. Like, how the fuck do I balance between the two?
Both. Yeah,
right?
man.
It's so hard.
Yeah. I can't imagine as a brown, like how do you feel that role?
Yeah. And it's just like, it puts the perspective, like, because it affects me too. Because I'm like, okay, if I'm going to look for a partner, even just a girlfriend, I was like, okay, what do I look for? So I took that. I had a lot of anger during that time. Yeah. Just because I was like, okay, it was, you put the blame on yourself. It's like, what did I do wrong?
Yep, 100%.
Right? And then you just look at it. I was like, okay, there's some things that you can't control. There's just some things like people,
yep.
people like there's so many things that people don't really understand, and they're never going to understand because there's so much ego, there's so much hatred, there's so much jealousy,
100%.
so much external factors affecting their own relationships.
The thing is, I will always say, and as somebody who's divorced as well, and truthfully, I have, and again, I'm not going to speak on it, but I myself struggle with mental health disorders, but my ex really did, and she had traits of, I can't, again, I'm not going to speak on it, but I wish her the best, but she would have this switch that would flip, and there was just nothing I could do about it. Right? It was just there's no way to control the situation. I'm not here to control. I'm here to help you, right? But it takes two people. It takes two hands to clap, So if there's fights, you got to remember you are still one side of it. It doesn't matter who's at fault at the end of the day, right?
It's so true, bro.
You are still at one side of it.
The thing is, like, as you said, like, you could love somebody, but you got to, like, thing is, when you hear certain things that come out of the counterpartner that you say you love, right?
Yeah.
When you hear such vile things or the way they speak, and you're looking back like, if you love me, you would never say this.
Yeah.
And then it's like, because like, we all struggle with relationship, because like even myself, like I try to reflect everything, like what I'm doing wrong, rather than me saying, okay, what am I doing wrong, and then go from that perspective. But then when you get pushed to the corner where like mentally you're like, I'm just checked out. Like, I don't know what to say. I don't want to say anything.
You go into survival mode. You turn into a version of yourself that you don't even recognize. Like, I remember I saw a photo of myself from my best friend's anniversary, Cam, Sing Styles. I was at Cam's house. It was his anniversary party, and I was taking photos of everyone. They go, yo, jump in one. And they took a picture of me, and I didn't think anything of it, I went home, and I started editing the photos, and I was with my ex at the time. And I looked at this photo of myself, and I couldn't recognize myself. I literally was like,
"What was that? Yeah.
What the hell? What is this?" And I remember so vividly that I just like quickly closed my laptop. I was at work, went to a mirror, and I just like took a hard look at myself, and just that no one else was there, and I was just like, "Nah, something's got to change. There is something going on here. Everything that I keep repressing, that it's cool, we're good, we're good. Her stuff doesn't." It's affecting me. And even if it's not mentally affects me, dude, look at yourself physically. I was 100 pounds heavier, right? And I didn't even realize how quickly it can get out of hand, where you start filling a void within yourself, or maybe someone is. For my situation, it was almost like almost like food was a escape. You know what I mean? And
everybody
to
has
fix
escape,
your relationship, and you have to fix those relationships with love and food and your exes and your person and yourself, and you have to work on it consistently. Everything the common denominator in all of this is the work. That's the only thing. And I talked to my shout out Vijay Man, my therapist. He always says, he's like, I'm like, yo, thank you so much for everything you've done for me. I've been seeing him for almost 5 years, and he goes, no, bro, like, you did the work. Like, you do it, and as brown guys, we know that no matter how much work we put into ourselves, like, could have done a little more, right? So it's nice to have someone to remind you that, no, man, you have done the work. And I think as I've gotten older, you start realizing when you sit around people who don't do it, but they show it. Posting it on Insta is not about meditating, eat, pray, love, or whatever.
All the bullshit.
It's all bullshit. Most of the time, people who post that shit are the people who are the worst.
Like, man, I mean none of that.
I was saying this, and I felt that from you guys too. Like, here we are, man. Like, we know that girl, we know that guy. Won't shut the hell up about motivational shit. The laziest person we know. You know what I mean, bro? If you are, trust me when I say it, when you wake up at 4 a.m. and you're going out for a run, the last thing you want to do is take a picture. You know what I mean? The last thing I want to do is set my camera up and do that. I just need to get out there and do the work. Right?
And I think that's key. Personal development.
That's the biggest thing. Is taking time for yourself, that isolation and stuff like that. All that cliche, niche shit people talk about, until when you start actually going through it, you're like, oh,
that shit goes out the window. Reality hits quick.
100%. And one thing I've realized is like, it's humbling. Like, exactly what you're gonna get back. If you are not happy with where you are at in life, there is something you can do about it. You may not be able to do everything at once, but there is something you can do about it. And most of us don't have the ability to take that step. Most guys, like you said, I find the biggest problem with our communities in general is that guys won't go see someone. Nah, man, I'm good. you sure? Because you drink 4 times a week. And it's not a glass of wine. You black out 4 times a week. Yeah. You're 35 years old. You're still in the club lineups. What are you doing?
Like, it's so true. Because like me and Mook talk about it. I personally do want to get into like go see a therapist. Because like, one thing I heard from someone was like, with therapy, it's like about fitting a glove. Yeah. Because like you're not gonna meet the therapist like the first one. It's not gonna fit. You be like, this guy doesn't resonate with me. Okay. It's like because Mook has like he tried it I think one time and you didn't like the therapist, right? And he hated it. So I told him, I'm like maybe that person didn't resonate with you, doesn't know what your story is, and when they don't resonate it as enough, so they can reflect back at your journey and be like, they can guide you. So now you're going to have it misconstrued. Because me and him fight about it. I'm like, bro, I think therapy is a good thing. People should go about it, especially in our community, bro. Because we don't talk about it.
Understands it. Like you said, you go to a therapist who's this old white lady, she's going to give me old white lady advice. You know what I mean? She's like, oh, well, just tell your parents to fuck off. And it's like, lady, I'm trying to live. Like, what do you mean? Like, I can't do any of that.
My understanding is like, okay, like, I'm not saying like therapists are bad.
Yeah.
Maybe my experience is just like, okay, it's just like one time. Yeah. But my thing is like what do you have friends for then? Like if you can't talk about this stuff with your friends, then are they really your true friends then?
But thing is like they have this so much shit in their own life that cause thing is like what we looking at the reel yesterday, right? Yeah. Like we as men, we got 1,000 things going in our head all the time.
At all times.
Bro, I have 3 core friends. Sometimes there's time period of frame where like we don't talk for weeks.
Man, it's nice for you to hear. It's nice to hear you say you got 3 core friends because, like, of those last 2 years of this whole transformation, I've lost, I would say, about 98% of people out of my life, and I literally have 3 core friends. Yeah, and honestly, I don't give a fuck. Yeah, I was like, oh man, you don't show up, you don't go here. I don't want to be there.
Yeah,
yo, that's me. I'm like, I did it
again, right here. All right, like I don't want to be there. It's very simple. I do not like Drake, but I can say I don't like any of you. It's just how it goes. You just walk out there, and then you realize how fake people are. I just can't do it. I can't stand that shit. Back to therapist. Man, like that's the thing is I went to 4 different therapists before I found someone I resonated with. Yep. I went to like 2, 3 ladies and they just kept handing me fucking pamphlets. You know what I mean?
The same like, shit. Fuck this.
Yeah, read this. And I was like, bitch, if I wanted to read this, I could have Googled it. I didn't need your ass to tell me this. Like, why the fuck I just pay $125 for your ass to email me a pamphlet? All right, ChatGPT could have done a better job. Yo, fix my brain.
I'm this old. I do this. 100%. It'll be way better.
Yo, this is my trauma. Some what you
Heal
know.
Me.
Even ChatGPT is just gonna fuck it. Just sends me one emoji.
You can go fuck yourself.
Go fuck yourself.
That's a joke.
You're like, your dad got to
I
me
don't
first.
get paid for this.
ChatGPT's like, your dad entered your dumbass in first, so we know all about it. We know all about you. No, but you gotta find a therapist that works. For me, my therapist is hilarious. I found him right before COVID, it was before COVID, and he's like, yeah, man, I do it out of my house. And I was like, ooh, yeah. I was like, okay, no doctor office or something. I used to go to psychiatrists when I was a kid. Long story short, but it just didn't work. That lady would just, again, tell me I'm crazy when I just had ADHD. And he's like, yeah, man, I do it in my house, and I hope you're okay. And I was like, yeah, I'm fine with that. Pull up to this guy's house. It looks like Tony Stark's house.
Oh, shit.
I pull up. I'm like, yo, bro, god damn. Like,
where's the Batmobile?
Yo, straight up. I was like, is the garage come out of the floor? Like, is this all out? I was like, are you a real therapist?
What are we really doing?
Like, you want to ship my ass off? Like, am I getting sold today? I pull up and he's like, yeah, man, welcome in. Come in. And I remember the first thing he says to me, he goes, yo, first question I got to ask you is, are you cool with getting called on your shit? And I was like, well, I barely know you. I was like, shit, yeah. And I had to be like, yeah, I am. I am okay with it.
Yeah.
And that was the first step right there, admitting. And I was lying to myself. I wasn't okay with being called out 24/7. I pay to be put in this room and then be told that, yo, this last week has been shit. And then be told, yo, most of it is your fault. And even if it's not your fault, you could have done 90. Like, you could have taken 10 other steps to avoid confrontation. Just dip out of, see ya. Like, you know what I mean? Not everything needs to be, head on head. Like, sometimes you can just shift that away. Because, you said, what are friends for?
Yeah.
And you're so right. Everyone's got their shit. Everyone's got their bullshit, right? So we give advice from our perspective of life, all the filters of things we've gone through. And we give that advice. Whereas I feel like therapists, when you find the right fit, they can give you advice with us not knowing their bullshit. You know what I mean? How is my friend, who I know has been a gunja half his life, all right, now all of a sudden he's a Sadat, you know what I mean? I'm not going to him for advice. Bro, you barely figuring your ass out yourself. Yeah. Right? Like, you're barely sorting it out yourself. I don't need you. I need someone who's going to, like, no bias. Yeah, right? Hey, this is the situation. And I think therapy only works if you're willing to be real with yourself. Yeah. That's the most important thing. You got to find someone that you feel can relate to. So Vijay is a Sardar who's in his 40s. He's a principal of a school. He's got a family, 2 kids. They're happy. You know, he's made it. And I was like, damn, like, I want to surround myself with people where I feel like they will help. I will help get there. I want to get there. You know, I want to be where you're at. How did you get here? You have a wife and 2 kids, and, you know, he embraces Sikhi in his own way as I do myself, right? How do you get there and be okay with who you are? And, you know, the first thing he said, he goes, are you cool with getting called on your shit? Yeah. Yeah, sure.
I guess in that sense, that's how you know, like, oh, okay, this guy knows what he's doing.
100%.
Like, that's what the thing is, like, so many people in this world are so freaking delusional, man. They're like, oh, you know what, I'll help you out here and there, but they're like, they play this some sort of manipulation. That's what I noticed with some therapists. It's like you already know what the answers are. It's just you need to be called out for your bullshit. You just need to know, like, the reality of it. Yeah, you fucked up. What are you gonna do about it?
Are you willing to do the work? Yeah. You fucked up. Are you willing to go to that person, put your ego aside, say, hey,
humble yourself.
I'm going through some stuff. Like, you know, my journey hasn't all been 16-hour days and, you know, runs and clean eating and all this sort of stuff. There's been dark moments, you know, and sometimes with our community, people will only see snippets of you. Yeah. You know, you said, I haven't seen my friends in weeks. Yeah, sometimes I don't see my friends for months either. Yeah. And when they see me, all of a sudden I'm having a bad day and they're like, oh, shit, this is why we don't see him. And all of a sudden there's that judgment. That I don't want to put that on my friends. So when I see my friends, I try to enjoy the moment for what it is. And I'm like, yo, there are some friends I go to. There's certain people, you know, that I go to for certain advice because I'm like, yo, this person has a lot of experience in this. But I feel like therapists, if you go to the right one, they're going to give you the right tools. Yeah. You know, in that moment where you start seeing red and you can't breathe and you just want to punch whoever's in front of you, you know, therapists give you the tools to, like, yo, ground your feet, take some deep breaths. Like, there's real science behind it. And when you find the right person, they teach you those. They give you more and more tools. And as men, I feel like, and I didn't realize this until very recently, that, you know, it doesn't get easier.
It doesn't.
Oh, it doesn't.
Boys, it does not get easier. Yeah. People can give less of a shit about you, and your level of responsibility keeps going up. Yeah. You know, every year I'm like, oh man, next year I'm gonna chill. Next year I'm gonna do. Nah, it's been 9 years of, like, steadily increasing.
It's so.